You're listening to Weld, Giddens, Noakes, and Newman on the Hammer Factor. Take it away, ladies.
Welcome to the Hammer Factor Ladies Takeover. On Skype today, we have a distinguished panel of women paddlers. I'm Kara Weld. I'm a co-owner of Immersion Research and 15-year U.S. Slalom team member. With us today, we have Rebecca Giddens. And Rebecca is, if you don't know, she's a silver medal in the Olympics in slalom in 2004 in Athens. She's also 2002 world champion in slalom. She owns Kern River Brewery in Kernville, California. She, along with her husband Eric, and has 2 young daughters. She's easily the most decorated U.S. woman kayaking athlete, slalom athlete. Yeah. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Also with us today from southern France, of all places, is Maria Noakes. She was a New Zealand freestyle team member for years and years. She owns Need More Adventures, adventure travel company. That's what's bringing her to France right now. Also Smoky Mountain Jet Boats. She's extremely active with the Nantahala Racing Club. We're in her home in North Carolina. She has 2 boys that paddle, one kayaks and one sups. Welcome, Maria.
Hi. It's great to be here.
And joining us later on, we have Nouria Newman, who is needs no introduction. For those of you who don't know or have been living under a rock, she just took a huge boob stroke off your head. She's a French paddler at the top of her game right now. She also paddles slalom. She actually won a silver in the Worlds in 2013. And again, if you don't know Nouria, she was the first woman and only woman to paddle the entire Stikine Canyon, including Site Z. Only other woman paddler being Nikki Kelly, I believe, from New Zealand. And then most recently, she's been a fierce competitor in the North Fork Championships. And I believe certainly the only woman to make it to the finals. But we'll find out more about that later. Okay. So, let's get right to it. Today we're going to, I promise no calling each other dude. No.
Bra.
Bra. Bra.
I wear a bra sometimes. Not right now. I just woke up.
Are we allowed to call each other babe?
Oh, yes.
Why not? I don't know where you guys are, but it smells better here than I'm sure what our normal Hammer Factor is being recorded.
The lavender and vanilla smells that are coming out. Yeah, John Weld.
Okay, so we're going to talk about some topics in the news. We got some viewer mail. We're going to talk about some gear fit. Of course, we have our special guest, and of course, rants and raves, everyone's favorite at the end. But to warm things up, let's just talk about the unavoidable subject, which has become the litmus test of your standing in the whitewater community, and that is SUP. Okay, Rebecca, is it a ridiculous fad or a legit addition to paddle sports?
Oh, Kara, I don't think you want to hear it. I think it's legit. It's on its way. I look at it as a sport that everybody can understand. You know, people on the sidelines, like they see people out there on a paddleboard and they can relate to it. It's a sport, you know, you can jump out on the lake and go out in the ocean. You can imagine yourself doing it. I don't think kayaking's going anywhere. I mean, I think that's going to keep continuing to be awesome too. But I think it's going to bring in a whole new group of people that don't necessarily want to feel confined, that don't want to paddle class, 4, class 5. I think it's awesome for class 2, 3. I'm out there in my kayak in class 2, 3, and I love it. But for a new challenge, something different, I have a garage full of subs.
Perfect. Just think about it. All those people who really need to get away from politics right now, they can immediately get on a SUP. They don't have to be able to kayak before. They can just get on that SUP. They can be 2, they can be 10. They apart from the super uncoordinated, which I'm wondering if John Weld has those gangly legs that just can't stand up on a paddleboard. But apart from that, I think it's a great, and it gives you a really good core workout. And you can just go. You don't have to have any experience. You can get on a SUP. And then I gotta let you know, if you can make it through the Nantahala Falls on a SUP paddleboard the first time that you try standing up and that it does not challenge you, I promise I will buy you a beer.
So, Marie, you said one of your sons is now supping primarily.
Yeah, he is. He really, really enjoys it. He's like a SUPs on. He's done quite a few races and SUPs. He's 13. And he's just picked up the sport. He loves surfing and he loves being on the river in it. And he's got a couple of different boards, a couple of different NRS boards. And there's a great little community there as well. Our kayaking community is really cool and the SUP community is really cool. So for me, it's just about him getting out and being in the outdoors. If he's in a kayak or a SUP, it's all good. He supped the white salmon. The main salmon, sorry, not the white salmon. That would be a little bit stressful. Yeah. Yeah, but the main salmon in Idaho, he's supped that. And it's a fun and forgiving sport. It's great.
So down at NOC, the kayakers and SUP paddlers are living in harmony.
Yeah, there are still less SUP paddlers, I must admit, but they are living in harmony and nobody's causing any fights or trying to push anybody out. There's we have a really strong contingent of lake and race, I guess sprint. I don't really know what the genre is, but we have quite a few people who sprint race down there and love it.
So I guess my question I have to ask is, okay, so you take away the coast and you look at the middle of America and, you guys probably have seen this. You can go into a Costco now and buy a SUP board with a paddle and a dry bag for $200. What I look at that in terms of an industry, in terms of if you look at whitewater kayaking compared to that, how is that sustainable for businesses that are selling primarily whitewater gear? I look at that more like what happened with sit-on tops, where people were buying sit-on tops and they were making sort of whitewater more expensive sit-on tops. They went into Dick's Sporting Goods, and then that whole market sort of fell apart.
I think it's an introduction, I don't think it's anything to be upset or threatened by. I don't think they're going to have the best of the best. So I think it opens up the doors. It introduces people. I work in the beer industry. It's a similar thing. I'm not going to be upset when, one of those giant breweries tries to make a microbrew or a craft beer because it brings in a whole group of people. And then when they get better at it, have a better understanding, they're gonna buy the good stuff. If you guys started selling your product to Costco, sure, then we might, then you're making your millions. You're stoked. Everything's great. But I don't know. I think that it's great that it's in those boards. There's no other way for someone to first get introduced. So I think that it helps it overall. I really believe that. But you're in that industry. I'm just kind of thinking that across the board, whether it's beer products or, food products or, that's a huge crew to have their eyes open to. You all shopped in Costco. You can't lie, right?
It's great.
Picked up something for the first time there. Take it to another level.
I'm fine. If you buy it from Costco, I'm it's okay. I think that Americans actually everybody needs more of a core workout anyway. So, why can't buying one at Costco? That's helping everybody out. That's getting more people on the water. And that's essentially what we want. And as Rebecca said, people are going to go, oh, that one broke. Sorry about that one. I'm going to have to get a better quality one.
There you go. So I think that's it. I think we put a rest to this conversation. I think it's a good gateway in introducing more people to the river, to the water, to the lake, whatever, and let's put this thing to rest.
Kara, my goal is to get you to do a competition with me, and then you can judge it afterwards.
Hey, listen, I will have to say for the record, just because my views of my husband are not necessarily mine, right?
Okay,
Just
you
plain
speak
for
for
here.
yourself.
There you go.
Point taken.
All right. What's next?
That
Shall
means
we?
yes, correct.
What? That'll come out and do that? Yeah. Any
Yeah.
chance to come out and play
All right.
with you? And let's do it.
Yeah, make sure you get that commitment. On
We're working on that.
Well, I've
On
got
record.
all sorts of commitments coming my way now. After this, right?
Oh, I owe her.
Oh, I didn't
Man.
request anything.
I'm in. I like that. This is easy. Twist my arm. All right. Okay. So let's see. All right. So we let's move on to we don't in lieu of the Outdoor Alliance telethon that goes on every week with Lewis and conservation, which I think is awesome. We have sorry here, trying to find my. Here we go. We have a policy issue to discuss. It's not conservation related, but Rebecca, we talked about this a little bit. Ashley Nee, who's a fellow slalom racer and was our woman representing the U.S. in the Olympics last summer.
Yeah, in Rio. Yep.
And yeah, in Rio. I posted recently, posted on Facebook, a very a very upset picture of herself after being on a conference call, and she had just found out that the women will not have funding. Some of the details of it are vague because she had to sign a non-disclosure. But if you can find Ashley Nee on Facebook, you can find this post. Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about that post and any insight you might have?
Yeah, I mean, I had trouble getting onto a bunch of it, but I got the gist of it. It looked like Ashley posted, that she wanted to match funds that some of the guys were getting. So the USOC, the U.S. Olympic Committee, and my feeling is, from my experience of this, is it's result based. So we've had some gentlemen, kayakers that are doing well. You know, they're hitting the top 10. They're making finals. Michael Smolin being one of them. Ricky Powell's been doing really well internationally. And, in C1,
Casey.
You have Casey Eichfield, yep, and Eric Bug Locken, Zach Locken. They've had top 10 results, and they're getting some funding. It's not a ton, but it's, for kayakers, we all know, like, anything you can get is super helpful. So they're getting up to, $1,500 a month. And Ashley looks like she has a goal of trying to do the same. Going onto the GoFundMe page is how she's raising her dollars. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's raised kind of a lot of, like, what? I mean, that's so millennial, like, sit back and watch the money roll in while you do nothing. And I think, those people in the past who have worked hard, trying to get their sponsors, maybe it just seems like the easy way, but why not? I mean, come on, if you had access to that back in the day, do you remember the days when you guys were competing and racing, trying to do anything and everything? Eric Jackson was out on the streets panhandling.
Right, right. So do you think, so what you're saying is that funding is always been performance based, and I guess there was a claim that this is gender discrimination.
Well, I mean, you could say that, but you look at the results with the females, and there hasn't been even qualified in for the semifinals. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been out of it for a while, so you have to forgive me. But like top 20 moves on to the semifinals, and then top 10 after that goes into the finals. USOC has always been 100% result oriented.
Right.
And as an athlete, I mean, how do you bring the ones that are trying to learn up? That's the problem. Right. It's always been a problem with the USOC. It's always been the best of the best get rewarded. And the better you do, you know, at one point in my racing career, I was getting more than the guys were getting. And my results also help pay coaches. And, you know, the guys' results help pay coaches. And it's pretty crazy. But I don't think with the USOC in the US, I just don't think it's a girl versus guy thing.
Yeah. I think the USOC would have a really hard time getting away with that for sure. I mean, they've made a huge mandate to equal the classes, and which has been slow going, but, you know, it meant 1-to-1 men to women in the games. And I mean, I know that from my experience also that the funding has always been for medals, and whether or not that works in the US, and that's the best thing, I think that's a big question. Does it work? But you make a really good point where you say that you're funding paid coaches, and so that helps everyone overall. It does trickle down, I guess. But regardless of that, what does this mean for women in the sport of slalom? What message is this putting out
from
there?
Ashley's type of post? I mean, one thing I so admire about her, and I don't know her very well, but for the women of the sport, she's incredible for the women of the sport. And I think her, you know, maybe putting that little twist on it does bring awareness. And it is getting us to have a conversation right now about women and in kayaking. And it's a great way to do it. I mean, it sparks something. And I think that, I think that, you know, she said, you know, I'm going to do things, and I'm going to coach on the side, and I'm going to teach clinics, and I'm going to introduce women to the sports, and she brought awareness to it.
Mm-hmm. So she brought awareness to the equity. We're trying to get women more equal in the sport. So she is, by her having this public or having her Facebook post, really has made other people think about it. So hopefully now, you know, they're a little bit behind on getting, because, you know, women are now going to be able to be in C1 in Tokyo, is it, in 2020? Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yeah. So hopefully now that she started this, maybe they will understand that these girls need to be training like right now. I know this is deviating from the topic a little bit, but there's no point trying to train. She's right, because we need to be training these people like now so that they can go to the Olympics in 2020. So if we can't make a jump start for this equality now, then we need to get there. I mean, even if it's not by results, somehow we need to bring up the standard so that the women get the results. It's not that we don't have the women who have the ability to do it. It's funding, training. It's the fact that, you know, people don't start. Maybe they don't start early enough, or I don't know. What do you think about that, Rebecca?
Kara. Kara's raising her hands like she's supposed to be. I'm like,
no. We have rules. No. Well, this to me leads. I think you're leading to the bigger conversation about what's happening in the U.S. in terms of, as a nation, are we developing a lower caliber of paddlers because we don't have that slalom infrastructure and base than our European counterparts? Because Maria, you're very active with Nantahala Racing Club, but there aren't very many clubs around anymore feeding these kids into the system. You know, like Rebecca's story is a long story with one person, Ray McLean, who really, I mean, a lot of people along the way, of course, helped you get where you are, but, really brought you guys up. Mine, I started with my dad in a canoe, and then a guy came to town who taught slalom. Like, how do we... those clubs were a big feeder in the DC area that got kids into paddling. And I feel like now I'm seeing us, parents, our kids are getting into paddling, but how do we reach a wider net, and then how do we foster that?
Yeah, no, so I think that's totally right. I'm in France at the moment, and there's these insane amount of clubs around, kayaking clubs, and they can be flat water kayaking clubs, they can be slalom clubs. And the city, the way it works is the city pays for the kids and the adults to get outdoors, basically. They have and it's not like a super fancy facility. Do they all have amazing slalom kayaks? No, they don't. But the facilities are there. And, you know, like the Nantahala Race Club has a great slalom program, but you have to be close to us. I mean, you have to be willing to travel and you have to be close to us. And we're really trying to get it going, but realistically it's a lot of it is about the dedication that's around us and the parents who are able to do it. I mean, the kids are really lucky because there is a slalom club right there and there's an active freestyle club right there. So we're lucky to be doing that. But really, as a whole, we need to be looking at how do we start clubs? How does this become more accessible so the athletes who will be really good at slalom are educated about it and know that that's something they can do. I mean, it's not that they get kids in kayaks younger in Europe. Their kids are just have way much more accessible to slalom. I'm not necessarily meaning slalom. It can be wild water slalom, freestyle, anything. All right, Rebecca, you're on.
Yeah, I mean, kids love to be with other kids. And you need a place that you can go to. And I 100% agree. Like, you know, North Carolina and Nantahala Outdoor Center, Bethesda Center of Excellence. You know, Durango has a whitewater club, and those are places that do have a big group of athletes. In Europe, like you mentioned, I can't even believe when I would drive over a bridge and look down everywhere. You'd see slalom gates everywhere. Didn't have to be on a artificial courses, some were on flat water, some were on moving water, some were on these little canals, and it's so accessible, and people can jump on a bus, jump on a train, you know, show up at their training place after school. You know, we have organized sports, we have basketball, you know, volleyball, and that's what everyone's doing. Kids want to be going and doing what their friends are doing too. So I 100% agree. Our club system, at one point in time, our club system in the U.S. was doing all right. And then it kind of dwindled, and you still have your key places. But if you don't live in those key places, you don't have coaches. You know, you have no one to go out with. And I think that's definitely hurting our sport. But how do we go about starting more clubs? I mean, who's going to do it? When's it going to happen? Everyone's so busy in their lifestyle. Everyone's so busy taking their kids to the other organized sports in the U.S. I'd love to see a change. I think we all would love to see a change.
Okay. So we're bringing Nouria Newman into the conversation now. We just, I introduced her earlier, but a little reintroduction. We talked about, Nouria, your silver medal in the World Championships in slalom. So you're in good company here with Rebecca. And we know about your first descent of the Stikine as running all the rapids, which is amazing. And tell us a little bit, because we just happened a week or so ago. Tell us about your participation in the North Fork Championships games.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I was too disorganized to actually enter properly and get in the voting. I did it last minute and then it didn't quite work. So I had to qualify on the 6-minute race. And I knew it was going to be really hard to make a top 10 on the 6-minute race. So I was training. And then I asked Argentinian paddler Matias Lopez to help me out. So we trained together. And then on the race, he was basically in front of me. And I was just trying to keep up with him. And I was like pretty much on his tail about 3/4 down the course, and then I just exploded and struggled for the last 25% of the race, and didn't make the cut for 0.03 seconds. Oh. So I was 11th, first not qualified, and I was pretty disappointed because my percentage was like I was 13 seconds from the fastest guy, which was pretty much like 3.6% off in the percentage, and that was really good. I was pretty happy with that, but I was really sad because I wouldn't go race on Jake's, And then Brian Casey pulled out and said he didn't want to race, and he pretty much gave me a spot as an alternate so I could race Jakes. And I was really happy. It was really scary because the water was super high, and I didn't have really good runs, but I got all the gates on my second run. I had the spin, so that was super slow. But on this rapid, you're just mainly happy that you just catch them all and you're safe at the bottom.
So Nouria, I have a question. This is your third year in a row racing the North Fork Championships, correct?
Yeah.
And last year you raced and you were top 20, 17 or something. So my question to you is, how come you're still up there, but you're not? How do you get requalified the next year automatically? Like, what do you have to be to just automatically move in? And then
you
my
have
other
to
question,
be top 10. So
top 10. And then my other question is, they invite people sometimes, right? You don't have to qualify. Like, they have a panel and they re-invite some people to race just because they're so badass, correct?
So you make top 10, you're automatically qualified, and then the top 10 from the year before is voting for 10 more people to get in the year after, and you apply on the internet. But
and so
I did a mistake.
You applied that for that
I didn't
position?
apply properly.
You didn't apply properly.
I
I was like not
and
understanding. I was not understanding how you couldn't be re-invited. I mean, I would just think, like, as long as you're holding your ground there. So I was curious if they weren't inviting you just because they didn't want to get beat by a girl, was my question.
No, it's basically just me being a shit show.
Get your act together, Nouria.
I know I'm going to apply for next year. I'm applying for next year. I think I'm just going to do a written application and get the North Fork organizer to take that in because I can't do the internet thing.
Well, you're with us. We can't do the internet thing either. Or I can't. Maria is great at the internet thing.
So, Nouria, what was it like dropping into Jake's?
It was actually pretty cool because I was so I paddled the rapid the days before. A lot of the boys didn't because they were scared or they didn't really want to go. But I was there and I didn't know if I was going to qualify anyway. And Dane and Alec and Evan Moore and Matias Lopez were just like doing training laps. So I was like, I'm just going and train with them. And if I race, then it's good. If I don't race, it's okay. I just get to paddle with some of the best paddler I know and get better. So I actually did like I think I did 12 laps before the race. So when I dropped in, I was no more nervous than on my laps. And then I guess the first day was the most stressful because the rapid was big and you don't really know what to expect. But then I spent 3 days like kind of running it a couple times every day. And so by the time of the race, it was okay dropping in Jake's.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, that's impressive. So Nouria, I got a question for you. I'm going to kind of throw you under the bus a little bit, but it ties in really well to the conversation we were having right before you came on. I was reading on the North Fork Championships website, your bio, and you commented that you would never do an eddy turn like an American.
Oh my God, Rebecca, I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Yeah,
You're
what the heck?
in this.
No, we'd love for you
Is
to
it that bad?
We would love.
No, we just want you to tell us how. Well, not being an American, of course,
Yeah,
I have a bit of a bite here, but we want you to tell us how you perceive that Americans do an eddy turn.
I was being provocative, but I do believe that a lot of American paddlers,
Excluding present company.
don't necessarily have a super good whitewater kayakers that are not doing slalom
There we go.
Aha.
Or
Okay. All right. You're okay. You're okay with this group now.
I'm excluding you, Rebecca. Don't
And
really
you have to
a
exclude
super
me because
good
I've been taught by Kara.
fundamental technique. They don't
That's
really. Yeah, I'm excluding Kara too, so I'm safe now. I can
And
speak freely.
Maria, I have to speak. Maria has beautiful eddy turns too. You would.
I
Okay,
was
beautiful.
taught by Kara.
Are you American?
Me?
Well,
No, I'm from New Zealand.
Yeah, so she's excluded automatically.
Oh,
So,
come on. She's been living here with her whole family and raising her family here. I think you're honorary American.
Yeah.
Well, but if you learn how to kayak in New Zealand, you probably have like a Kiwi style, so it means you're probably a savage operator.
No, she was a hack when I met her.
You can bushwalk.
I can bushwalk.
Yeah.
I understand you might be an American wannabe, like you have a cute little crop top American flag that you wear around. Is this true?
Oh, this one. Yeah. I might have lost it at a party.
I'll get you a new one, don't worry.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Oh man. Well, yeah, you guys can meet up tonight, and I'm sure Rebecca has a lot of costumes. Okay.
Yeah, I've got two girls.
So
Got a lot of costumes.
Nouria, you're being provocative, but you paddling. So this leads to, I think, some the conversation we were having before about slalom in the U.S. and how our bottom has fallen out. We don't have the infrastructure and coaches and training and group and boats on every creek that every bridge that you cross, like you do in France. And I think that in France, I mean, our slalom numbers still, they're strong, and your depth of field is strong. I mean, are kids still getting into slalom, and what are you guys doing differently that we can learn here?
I think it's a totally different social structure. So you could start with me basically being sarcastic about eddy turns, but the truth is it starts in the way you learn how to kayak. Let's say you're in the States, someone's gonna teach you how to row on your first day. In France, they're gonna teach you how to do a forward stroke, and then they're gonna throw you in the river, and then you're gonna swim for 2 years before someone's like, oh, you want to learn how to row? And it kind of sucks, to be honest, but at the same time you work on other things which are like strokes, throws, edging, like really small fundamental technique that some American whitewater paddlers won't necessarily work on. And then with the people that kayak in the States, if you take a social look of it, like of course there is like individuals and everyone has their own trajectory, but you don't have a strong club system. So if you want a whitewater kayak and you're American, you're usually middle upper class, white, and a male. Whereas in Europe, if you want a kayak, you're probably middle class too, but the cost of picking up kayaking for a French kid is about $100 a year. You get in the club, you just need a pair of old running shoes and a swimsuit, and then the club will provide neoprene gear, life jacket, helmet, boats, a coach, and basically every time you have time off school and there is an organized session for your group level in the club, you just go and it costs nothing. We take the vans and they take you to the river. And that comes to something even older, is like French as a socialist tradition. So the sport clubs or cultural club like theater, music, whatever, is founded by city council, which can only be affordable because we pay a lot of taxes, and it's redistributed to the people, which is a totally different system as what you guys have in the US. So it's not like I'm joking around with eddy turns, but it's actually way more complex than what it seems. And then you have kind of like two different paths for paddlers. that are not necessarily made by paddlers themselves, but more like by societies and how it works. It would be probably different in some other countries.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right on. I mean, our social system is so different here. We can't really look at the French system and say that's exactly how we have to do it. But I think there's something to be learned from, because we're all moms with kids now, and they're into kayaking and just learning kayak, and some of them starting to run big whitewater. But there's something to be learned from, not just that, like, follow me. Here's how you do a four stroke. Here, let's, your buddy who's a raft guy teaches you how to roll, and you end up swimming for the next 2 years. I mean, we've all seen that over and over and over. What can we do as Americans to sort of step up our game in teaching people how to kayak, right? I mean, how many times have you guys seen just like the follow me, let's just go run class 3 the first day in your boat, and they never kayak again?
But that is our system. I mean, that's we don't, like you said before, we talked about before the whole club thing. Like, we don't have the gates. And you start out learning in slalom gates. You don't have to be a slalom paddler. But right. You start out, you can do a class 3 move on class 2. You can do a class 4 move on class 3. I mean, they're learning exactly how to put a stroke in, where to put a stroke in. And it's on easy water, so you're probably not going to flip and swim. So, right, you get your basics down first. And then what our goal is, what we see as kayakers is, come on, first thing, like, I got to get you out in this class 3. Like, you don't have the skill set. And it's traumatizing for people to be stuck in a kayak upside down with a spray skirt on. So having that background, and it is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Nouria, but I feel like it is a slalom background that you start with, but that takes you to all these different levels. I think if you were to talk to a lot of the extreme racers from different countries, not the U.S., but from different countries, they'd probably say, yeah, I learned at a club with some slalom gates, and I learned how to hit my moves, and then I took it to that next level, and once I'm paddling class 3, I have to learn how to roll class 4, and it's just, how do we make it happen here? I don't know. It's such a long line and deep setup of years that it's taken to build these amazing clubs there. Mm-hmm. So
I think it's also cultural. I don't know if anyone here will be ready to put, like, because club works, like, of course, with the money that comes from the tax, but they also work on random people that will spend their Saturday and Sundays and every of their free time when they're not at work just driving kids in a bus, instead of just taking their own kids and do cool things with them. And it's okay, because we have a lot of people doing it. So there is a big rollover. If you had to start this pretty much by yourself in your area, it means you're pretty much starting it, and you lose like all your weekends and holiday for about 2 or 3 years before anyone just steps in and starts like helping you out too.
Right. And Kara, as you'd mentioned earlier, that was my start. I had that one person that did take, me around everywhere, which leads me, Nouria, what got you started? I'm sorry, this is off track a little bit, but what did get you started in kayaking?
I got really lucky because my dad's friend had kayaks on the roof, and it looks like my toys, plastic toys. I was really young. I was 4, and I asked my parents, I want to do this. I didn't even know it was called a kayak. And they said, no, you can't do this. You don't know how to swim. So the club system being what it is in France, I just entered the swimming lessons that whole summer, just because they said no, and came back with a swimming certificate. And I was like, no, I want to do the plastic thing. And so they went to my dad started that same summer, I think, with friends, with the old people from the club. And then I started like pretty much next, and I was 5 years old, and usually they don't take kids that young. But because I could swim and the son of the coach was 1 year older, 6, they actually took like 4 or 5 kids that age, so he would have friends in the club to paddle with him. Usually you would start more like 7 or 8. Yeah. So that's how I started.
I was just assuming it was the whole club system, but I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah. Right. All right. So, Nouria, since you're here, one of the things we wanted to talk about is gear for smaller paddlers and your opinion on where our sport is with that. Like, what boats are out there for, say, the 130-pound person, and are we missing? Are there things we're missing that you'd like to see?
Ooh,
Good. Yeah.
I think on this I have a very different opinion than a lot of other girls, because I think a lot of girls should paddle this boat because they're smaller, they're not as strong. It's just preconceived idea. Like, because you're smaller doesn't mean you have to paddle the smallest boat from that brand, because you're just gonna go on big whitewater and then you're just gonna struggle. When honestly a creek boat or play boat is not hard to turn. It's not like a slalom boat where you need it cut to your weight, because you actually need to put the stern under the water to go fast, and you still need some volume. So a lot of it is like, oh yeah, girls should get the extra small or the medium thing. And then you see girls going on some rivers and they struggle because their boats are too small for them. So every single hole they boof, they kind of get stuck because they don't have enough volume. Or then you have the life jackets, special life jackets for girls. Congratulations, you have more room for boobs, but your pin kit doesn't fit the pocket, so you're useless. And then you're basically a burden for the rest of your crew. And a lot of things like this are actually not efficient. You want a paddling short, great. You have the tiny, cute short, but you have no pockets, so you can't fit anything. So if you're hiking in, you're just going to have to fit it in your boat. And every time you're just not convenient. So
I agree with you, Nouria. I totally agree with you. I really feel like so I've been boating for a while, and I really feel like we actually have quite a few more boats available to us now. In the past, there hasn't been a lot of boats. I'm 5'5". Probably not going to tell you my weight right now, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely boats out there for that girls can cruise around in, and there's definitely freestyle boats that's the same. In the past I've creeked in a 3D. I mean, I've always, and it may not have been totally the safest, but right now we have a lot more boats out there. And if you talk to guys and girls, sometimes part of the problem is they are right in the middle of the weight range. Sometimes the too big the problem I find is I'm too big for a medium play boat. It is just too small, sorry. It's just too wide for me. I mean, and I think that happens to a lot of guys and girls. I don't think that's necessarily a girl-specific thing that happens. And I personally love paddling a longer boat, like a longer, faster boat on creeks. I feel like it's a good thing to do.
I'm in that 140 range, and that is the range. Like, I feel like there are smaller boats for the 130 range. Like, I'm 140, and if I try to get in one of those boats, I'll sink it. So I tend to just paddle the bigger boat, and I like it. I feel more comfortable out on the water in a big boat. Like, I feel like there's more keeping me afloat, and I can run more things. I'm laughing a little bit here because you're talking about picking the right boat and for the right river. And I recently went out and paddled my remix on something bigger, and I hadn't been paddling a while, and I just got hammered the whole way down the river. Nouria, I don't know if you remember, that was a year ago, I guess now, but when we went out and paddled, and I chose to paddle my remix on Hospital Rock, which, back in year before was no problem, but the boat didn't have enough volume, in my opinion. And so I made the wise choice, like, I'm going to walk around 0 to 60. I'm just getting hammered the whole time. Meanwhile, Nouria's greasing every line. Nicole was greasing every line, and I'm walking around this big rapid, like, proud of myself for making a good decision. And yeah, I just slipped on a rock and dislocated my shoulder and wasn't even in the river. Random side note story, but having Nouria on, talking about boat choice, being out there in the right vessel, one that fits you correctly, like, just reminded me of that.
Rebecca, to go up, you have the Remix 59. What's your next big boat up to creek in then? What's your boat of choice?
I don't, right now I've just been using Eric's boats for bigger boats, so I've been in the Nomad. With the slalom background, I like something that has a little more, to it. So I've jumped in some of the Jackson boats recently and had fun on those. Is it Zen? I'm so terrible with the names of boats.
Yeah, I think the Zen would have edges like a slalom boat a little bit.
So I'm so terrible, you guys. It's so embarrassing. But yeah, I guess I really did enjoy that boat. I went out in that. What was the other one? The Piranha 9?
The 9R.
That was pretty awesome with the slalom background. So I haven't been.
Nouria, what did you paddle in the North for?
I have the new Nirvana, which is pretty funny because talking about boat size, I paddled the exact same boat as Alec Voorhees.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know if you know Alec, but he's
big.
a tall guy and he's really strong. So we have a big weight difference. And it was funny because his little brother and me are actually paddling the same boat as he does. And it's great for him and it works for us too, which was quite surprising.
So
I paddle a 9R and people are always saying, like, isn't that too big? Isn't that too big? And the 9R is great. It's an amazing size. It's like, it will speed through anything. It's really super cool.
Okay, so I wasn't going to bring this up, but I want to get you guys' opinion. So I had the little Jefe Chico a couple years ago, sort of the women's version, had flowers on it, of the Liquid Logic, right? And I hated it. I felt like it was, the boat wasn't designed from scratch. It was just sort of, sorry, Shane, love you, but I never liked that design for me. And I felt it didn't feel too small volume-wise, really, but and I don't run the big volume class 5 that Nouria does, but they're like for out here on the steeper creeks, volume-wise, I think it was probably fine, but I didn't like the way the boat performed. So I ended up going up to the Jefe, which is a smaller size creek boat. It's not, it's kind of for smaller paddlers. But I got pinned on the upper Blackwater, one of our runs here, and right above a sieve. So it was actually a really close call. It was a scary thing, but I could not reach around the boat and put my hands down to push myself off this rock that I was on. You know what I mean? Like to just be able to put my hands down and push. I could not reach because the boat was so wide around me. And that's kind of what led to my series of troubles from there on. And if I had been in a smaller boat, I really could have just gotten off that first pin, put both hands down, just had my paddle across the cockpit, boom, and have been on my way. So that got me back to wanting a smaller creek boat. But now hearing you guys, maybe that was an unusual circumstance, but I didn't like not having that because I'm 5'3". I'm pretty small paddler, so I didn't like not being able to do that. So I don't know what the solution is.
I'm 5'7", but I have the world's shortest arm, so I feel like I'm in the same boat as you.
Okay.
As Eric said, T-Rex, I can hardly feed myself and get my hands to my face. No.
Yeah. I sort of feel like, that's like
if you're going to be creaking, you get in less trouble with a little bit bigger boat.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you're getting in and stuck up against something. There's less of your boat in the water, so
if you're pinned, if you're getting smashed in a hole, you're in that situation where being able to actually get yourself out is pretty random.
Yes.
Maybe with a smaller boat you would have reached, but maybe you would have get pinned differently and it would have been worse. There's no way you could know. And I think the best thing is actually before being in those situations, there is a time frame where you can actually do things and you're in control. That's when you paddle, and sometimes you mess up and things happen. And I think in those situations you can just rely on a good safety team and the people you paddle with more than anything else.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a smaller boat because it's better when you get pinned.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Weird situation.
You should just get the boat that fits your paddling the best. So if you're tiny and actually you find a smaller boat is better for you, I'm totally fine with it. What's weird to me is the preconceived idea that, you're a girl, you're paddling a small boat. Are you paddling the chica version of that boat with pink flowers on it and then you realize that the boat is not really good for performance or doesn't quite fit what you want to run or your paddling style, but you just got that boat because people said, you're a girl, you're getting that boat, and sometimes you don't necessarily have the knowledge or people around you to be like, oh, actually, no, how about you try this boat instead?
Yeah, I agree with Nouria completely. That it's, you could have been pinned on your tail and been like, oh, I can't reach the tail. Does that make sense? Like the width of the boat, not necessarily the issue. It was the pin that was the issue. I mean, if you're pinned nose down, you're not going to be able to even reach your nose. So, yeah.
Just don't get pinned.
Right. Yeah. Just don't get pinned.
Totally class 2 slalom move too, and I blew it. All right. Well, that leads me to this. We have some viewer mail that we need to address. I think the guys talked about this a little bit, but I'd love to get your input on this because we make dry suits for women, and we make one version with the relief zip in the front, so you have to use a shiwi. So this Sam Belcher from Fayetteville wrote in, and she said, what's your position on the shiwi? That is the funnel that some ladies use to pee out of in the front of a dry suit. Do you ladies prefer the front zip and use the shiwi, or do you prefer the drop seat in the back? Rebecca.
Oh, I just pull my zipper out the front and zip it. Yeah, I just stand and it works. Try it sometime. I highly recommend trying it.
What, just peeing out of the zip?
Just pull that front zipper open and pull it down as far as you can. Stand up and go.
Rebecca, you are known for some skills that
ninja skills.
I want everybody to know about here. What about Nouria? Maria? Do you guys use the dry suit? And
Nouria, do you want to go first?
I'm totally not a peeing ninja, so I need a shiwi. I hate the back zip. Not that I've ever tried it. I always had dry suit with the front zipper, but I've seen some of my friends kind of trying to get out of their boat really fast, and the handle from the zipper or the zipper itself, because it's really loose, would just get stuck on the seat. Ooh. And then they would really struggle to get out. Like some places it's really not convenient, and I was like, oh, if you actually swim and you're unlucky and you've got that like kind of T-handle getting stuck just on the strap of your boat, and you can't really get out, or you lose like 3 seconds just because of this, I find it really stupid. And then it's colder too, so I'd rather just have a shiwi in my life jacket and just pee with the front zip, and then I can also pee from anywhere. Like I don't really need to hide. I can just go next to the guys and pee at the same places pretty much, which is quite convenient at times. And then in the shiwi, like you have the hard ones and the soft ones, and honestly the soft ones are a little bit tricky to use. If you ever get a soft one, I would recommend training in your bathroom on a controlled setup before you pee all inside your dry suit. It happened to everyone I know that had a soft one, so I have a hard one. It's just easier.
And I've used both, and I prefer the rear zip. I just I haven't got it caught before. I jump out of my boat, and it's nice to have a break, and I do the rear zip and zip it back up, and it's all fine. And I think the only problem I've had really is trying not to sit down in poison ivy. Like I just really make sure that there is no poison ivy below me.
It's always a good move.
Yeah, I prefer just the back zip. I mean, it's just my personal preference.
And it doesn't bother you on the seat in your back band? You have it positioned?
No, it doesn't bother when I'm walking. I just feel like it's easy, and I don't know. I haven't peed inside my dry suit, so I guess that's maybe something that's going to happen at some stage, but it hasn't yet.
So back to the shiwi question really fast. If you use it, I mean, you can't just pee full force, can you? Like Nouria, or do you have to
Well,
go.
that's the thing. Like, if you have the soft one, you kind of have to like control pressure. But if you have the hard ones, you can just go however. And so, because you're paddling, sometimes you just like wait until you really need to pee before stopping, on some of the rivers. So I just want to have the hard one, so I just don't take the risk to pee myself on the first day of a multi-day, and then your dry suit is just gnarly for the next 4 days.
How often do you lose your peewee? I mean, you carry in your boat, and oops, I can't find my peewee anywhere, and then what?
If you lose it, I lost it last year doing a shoot for Fisher. I was just being goofy, and then I dropped it in the river. And then you just hope that your friends has some and they can lend it to you.
Yeah, excuse me.
They have to be.
Please.
They have to be really good friends. But I think I have some of those really good friends that would actually lend me their shiwi, so I don't have to get undressed and 20 minutes later get back on and be cold and the whole crew's waiting for you and you lose time and things like this.
So is IR thinking possibly back zipper or no?
We are actually. I think we're going to do both for 2019.
I'd be very
but
excited.
we put a lot of thought into the first design and talked to a lot of paddlers, and the consensus was the front zip was more not so much user friendly, but just people preferred it in the end. But I still think there's a lot of women that would like the rear zip, and it seems to be a little bit more. I mean, I've been fighting for both, but now we have the sales to bring on another product. I think it's probably a little bit more user friendly.
And for kayaking, it's different. But let's say you're totally rafting. If I was gonna go on a raft trip, I think I would like the back one because then you can pee from the back of the raft really easily. Just saying.
Well, and if you have to go poop, I'm just saying you're not going to poop in your shiwi.
Can't poop in the shiwi.
Nope.
I'm like, oh my God, you're on a raft trip in Nouria. You cannot pull over and go to the bathroom.
Right?
You like pee in the back. I'm like, that's some wild rafting.
Well, that's why I don't raft. It's too scary.
It is too.
I'm terrified of it. The Grand Canyon raft sounds so scary to me. Like, all gear flopping around everywhere, boat landing on top of you.
Hit,
I'd way rather be in my kayak. Sorry, I love rafting. Love it all.
You love supping too. Being on the water. Anyway.
I'm not embarrassed. If you can get over your pride, yeah, you're gonna love it, Kara.
This has been really, really fun, and I feel like there's so many more things to talk to Nouria and both of Rebecca and Maria about that we need to do this again if you guys will do it. We should probably start wrapping it up, though. I would say that more than the women's edition, ladies takeover, it's been the international edition. Holy cow. Very cool. And thank you all. And thanks for listening. But we have yet rants and raves. I hope everybody's prepared one. Who wants to go first?
I bet Rebecca does.
You know me. I'm just going to rave about stuff.
Sup.
I guess, yeah. Well, no, not just sup. What I've been thinking about a lot and talking to people a lot recently, we just got back from a little fun trip to Colorado doing some sup races. Yes, I'm not going to lie, Kara. But I guess my main point, GoPro games. Awesome. Everybody should go. And I think why I'm bringing this up, participation is huge there. It's not the elite, it's the elite mixed with full-on, beginners of stuff. And there's, everyone does everything. We're moms, perfect family events. My kids had free zip line. They were climbing walls all around. They have mountain bike races for kids, all free. And the parents have fun too. You can do a little downriver, down class 2, which is super fun. Races in town. You can do the Homestead Creek race. Nouria just kicked butt on that, won that. That's the last time I saw her. It was just a few weeks ago, crushing it there too. So I highly recommend. I think next time we all meet up, and I think all the families listening that have parents that are into it, kids that are into it, and you want to get your kids into some non-organized sport, but like, doing some competitions, it's the perfect place to start as a family.
Go Pro Games. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
All right.
Be there next year. They're not even paying
Awesome.
me to do this.
Yeah. Sponsor. All right, who's next? Somebody's got to have a rant.
Alrighty, I have one. So I am really concerned. Of course I have one. I'm really concerned about what the children of the world are doing with their technology devices. So I am like, this is like my rant that everybody out there, all you selfish kayakers, and I must admit I used to be one too, that you need to go out and help the children of our world to get off their devices and into whitewater. No matter, I don't care how it is, I don't care how long you spend, but I have seen phenomenal results with the Nantahala Race Club and how many kids we've brought in and how it has totally changed their lives. I want you guys to think back and think how much kayaking changed your lives, how much it's meant to you, and go out and find some people to do it to their lives. And don't be selfish little, poo-poo little kayakers anymore. That's my rant.
Awesome. Mandate. Everyone has to sacrifice and drive kids around in a van for 2 years and get them on the water. All right. I'm going to go next because this is my rave, and it's sort of totally off topic, so I'm going to leave Nouria to end. My husband John and I just did this crazy gravel race, 75 miles, like 8,000 feet of climbing on gravel, steep, up and down, here in Morgantown, West Virginia. And it's called the Hilly Billy Roubaix. If you want to look it up, it's a blast. But I want to give a shout out to the race organizer, JR, and his wife, Gina, because it's a thankless job being a race organizer. As we all know, we've all been a part of that here. And I've done a lot of races in my life. And it's just awesome that another sacrifice that people do for us to have fun. And be a race organizer, because I'm about to do the Upper Yock race in a couple weeks, so take it easy on me as an organizer. No, just kidding. No, it was an awesome event, full on. All right, Nouria, what you got?
Oh, I don't know if I want to go on a I think I'd like to give a shout out to Patrick Tamblyn, because he was trying to do innovative things in the sport, and it didn't work out really well with Rider of the Year and the Whitewater Grand Prix, and now it's kind of been taken over with the North Whitewater Awards, which take the same things and try to bring it back alive. And then the boys We Are Sand with their Unleashed event on the event that was based on the Grand Prix, and I think it's really sad that it didn't work, because it was great that year to mix like freestyle with whitewater, with creeking, and had people kind of challenge themselves on hard things, but also like combine skill sets, because big wave freestyle is really different from creeking, and then a volume river motocross is really different from a steep creek time trial. And I hope that like more and more race organizers are gonna step in and try to organize small race with new formats. We had Rafa Ortiz that did the Rey del Rio a couple years ago, which was like super fun combination of style of waterfall and not just a time trial like it's usually done. Brendan Wells just organized a new little race on the Green Trust in White Salmon, and it's good to see people just like putting effort and just making it happen, like what you said with the Upper Yock race, and it's good. You have like big races like the GoPro Games or the Sick Line or the North Fork, and then smaller races on Quality River, which is really cool to go to, and more of a community gathering. So yeah, shout out to everyone that puts work and that's pretty much like behind the scene to just make it all happen. That's it.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for joining, Nouria. Thank you, Maria and Rebecca. This was awesome. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again.